So you don't try to intend to, preclude the case where set A and set B are configured for one report. Okay.
Let's invite the two ladies. Please, you first. You first.
Oh, thank you. Thanks, Chairman. This is ATT. We have comments. Does this proposal means that the set for set A and set B will be configuration separately? Does this mean be must to configure set A and set B separately?
At least that is not my intention. Yes, that is not my intention. It has to be separately. It could be jointly. That could be related to the discussion of set A and set B association, if it is needed. I mean, this is in the end the purpose for UE may not need to define just a set.
But
for narrow-sided model.
But here that is, I guess, interpretation from these two proposals and this FFS part. Perhaps here said it whether separate. Here it seems to give some indication it is by default it should be combined, right?
Maybe we can change the FFS set to whether jointly or separately.
Yes, I think that it should be. And please, another lady.
Thank you, Chairman. This is Minju from
Please
Xiaomi.
close to your microphone.
Oh, this is Minju from Xiaomi. As for the first sub-bullet, I think maybe for monitoring or for inference, set A beam is not needed to configure. So we suggest to add if needed after.
Yeah, of course, support is just, it is needed, it is supported, otherwise it is not supported.
Okay, and for the last yellow part, we suggest to change to whether to configure different resource size. Maybe more than 2, I think it is possible. For example, for beam case 2, there are different patterns for set B. There will be different size for set B.
Okay, let's keep loaded it, and finally, let's polish it. Firstly, for a general framework, for a general direction, let's have a discussion about anything else. Let's see. The 5-way guide, please.
Yes, general direction. To my reading, this is somewhat a conclusion that we are trying to say that for AML model applied at the network, the measurement set can be configured as set A or set B because it's the network that knows what is set A and set B. So from the UE perspective, it's a measurement set. So I think the core thing, if I read it right, existing CSI framework can be used to configure a measurement set that can correspond into set A or set B assumed at the network. That's a conclusion. I think if I read it right, there is no, the first 2 sub-bullets are not introducing any spec change.
Avik.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So on this one, we discussed in the last meeting that network-sided model, there might not be any specific configuration for set A or B. It'll just be a measurement resource, set of measurement resources. And from the UE side, it can be transparent to the UE whether this is set A or set B. So having said that, I think the note tries to capture it for capture this kind of impact. But the note also says that for network-sided model will also not be captured. So that I don't agree with. So it says purpose such as above for network-sided model for BM case 1, case 2. But I think we need to differentiate between network-sided and UE-sided models. Because for UE-sided models, I don't see how it works without set A, set B configuration, at least set A configuration. It's not clear. But for a network-sided model, to the UE, set A and set B can be transparent. Like Keith mentioned, it's just a set of measurement resources. It can be either set A, set B, UE might not even need to know. So at least for the note, I don't think for network-sided model should be included. We need to have some idea that this is for network-sided model, and for UE-sided model, it might be something different. But the note says purposes such as above for network-sided model will not be specified in ran1. Then how do we differentiate between UE-sided model and network-sided model? No, I think we should not make such conclusions right now. I think no, I think previously we said set A and set B will not be specified in ran1 specifications, or for inference will not be specified in ran1 specifications. In this case, I think there is a difference between network-sided and UE-sided models.
Gio.
Yeah, just one question for clarification. I think set A beam measurement report is about training and or monitoring something. But if we just say reusing CSI framework means a measurement configuration and reporting configuration, and measurement configuration includes CMR set of resources. So is this mean that all the set A beams should be included in the CMR set? For example, if there is 1,000 beams in set A, should we extend CSI framework to support 1,000 beam CMRs in CSI framework or not? This need to be clarified. I think the intention is not that way, but I think it could be misread that way, right? If we just say CSI framework is intended to configure resources for set A beams, and if we say that set A beam can include like 1,000 beams, then how are we going to do this?
I understand your comment, but I don't think that it will include.
So maybe there
everything.
could be some implementation-based way, like for example, network can configure multiple reporting settings with different set of beams. So for example, like if there is 1,000 beams, and network can configure like 10 different reporting configuration with 10 group of beams, like each group has 100 beams. That is also implementation-based way of using CSI framework. But if we say using CSI framework to configure like 1,000 beams for set A, then this could be a disaster for you. So I feel like we need to somehow be clarified. The point.
That's why I add this as a starting point. I
right?
think it may have something to change in the end.
Yeah, CMCC.
Yeah, thank you. This is E from CMCC. Our comments is focus on
Louder, speak louder.
Louder, okay. For the first bullet, I think if we want to support it, we need some additional evidence about whether it can be configured joint or separate. So yeah.
Have you followed the discussion?
Yeah, I follow the discussion.
But it has already been mentioned that we will polish it on data separately or combined.
Yeah, but without maybe I think the highlighted the yellow part is more details within the CSR's configuration, whether more resources or separate.
It is just to confirm. We need to configure how to report. That is the second step.
Yeah, that's the second step. But for the first step is the two bullet. If it is a separate bullet, it implies it may be separately configured. But we do not have any further illustration about the details, the data kind of details.
it is just not say it is separate or combined.
But
It is just need to configure both.
Yeah, but it's
How to report it is separate.
it's to separate the bullet.
That is a separate set confirmed to be reported, to be supported.
But we can combine the.
Please,
Yep. So, so first of all, as Chiwa mentioned, we also think that there could be some more efficient way based on CSI framework. So, firstly, we prefer to keep as the starting point in the sublets. And another question from our side is that why is this focusing on especially for network-sided AM model? So, in our view, CSI framework can be used for both network-sided model as well as UE-sided model. So, I mean, we don't see the need to restrict this proposal only for network-sided model. So we can just keep it general.
yeah, for your second comment, I think that we could step by step separate, but not necessarily combine it together to make it too complicated. First address, if it is straightforward, let's say just a copy paste. Which combine? NEC.
Thanks, Chair. Actually, we have some concerns on the first sublet. It says configures resources of CTA beams. But as we know that CTA beams consist of many beams, physical beams, which may not have CSIR's resources. I mean, you do not need to provide frequency information. You do not need to provide density of this CSI resource. We just need to, I think, provide the resource IDs for the CTA beams. That is enough, because we don't have that many physical resources for the CTA beams. So maybe my suggestion is to change first sublet resources to resource IDs.
Any difference?
No, resource.
What does the resource ID mean?
Resource ID means just the identification that is for CTSB association, and then you provide the ID that is enough to identify a beam, but you do not need to provide physical resources, time and frequency resources for that CTA beams, because you do not really measure it.
But they still,
need the ID.
The ID should be mapped into a physical resource,
I
right?
don't think we need to provide the physical resources for every ID of the beams in CTA. That is a lot of physical resources.
Is it a common understanding? We don't need to map the ID to the resources? Yeah.
Yeah, I think in the legacy CSI framework, you configure the resources by the IE of CSI resources. Then you generate another IE with CSI resource sites and referred also by the CSI report config. So I think configure resources or resource ID is the next step detail. We don't need to debate here. I think the keywords for the first two bullets is support using the existing CMR framework, but not for how you configure the resources. Maybe as LG says, you may have a multiple groups or you may have an enlarged number. It's the next step. And from our side, we think that even the report is not limited by the configure resource, but also the report of set ASIP. But I think we don't need to debate on that. We can simply say that support using the existing CSM framework for set A/set B beams as a starting point. That is enough. We don't need to debate on the details of whether it's configure the resources or what. That is not the focus.
May I respond, Mr. Chair?
Please.
Yes, I mean configuration-wise, I agree with you that configuration of resource or resource ID plays the same effect. But let's consider the real physical consumptions. And do you really need to reserve all the physical resources for the southern beams in CTA? That is not practical. How you assign the physical resources? You cannot even fill in one slot or two slots of all the resources for the CTA beam.
David?
Yes, thanks, Chairman. Just some response to NEC colleague. Actually, for training data collection, we do need to transmit the reference signal for set A. In that case, set A resource, including the frequency domain resource and the time domain resource, has to be configured for the CSRs.
Yes, but,
thanks.
but most times I think
that is just for different cases. This means that it is perhaps for
okay.
monitoring.
If including training cases, I think yes.
Yes, that is quite general.
Yeah, but I have to remind you that most times for inference, you do not need to transmit all those beams, and you reserve all the physical resources.
Yes, I think
in your configuration.
Yeah, I understand.
Yes, if including training, it's okay.
That is did not mention about which procedure. That is mentioned training or inference or. For this one, I think that not necessary to continue to respond. Just focus on this one as a starting point to address some companions' concern about perhaps the resources, the framework too general. Perhaps something is not necessary, and that is why we take it, describe it as a starting point. So anything else? Helmut.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. So the first bullet, yes, so I mean, we do agree with the direction, but the problem is that the set A resource configuration is not needed for inference. So it is true that we're not, bundling everything together in terms of saying whether it's for inference or training or monitoring, but we can add a sub-bullet just for clarification to make it clear that for the first bullet, we can add a sub-bullet that this is not applicable to inference, the set A configuration. Because if there is a need for set A configuration, we can clarify why it is needed for inference. But for training and monitoring, we can envision how it's applicable.
It's to not to go too far, not to go far. Kind of for this moment, for this agreement, I think that for this one, I think that it should be good enough. If you think that it is not applicable for inference, please let's make another agreement for it.
But
it is just a general. If we say we capture in the spec, it will not mention it is for inference, for training, for something like that. Just as we discussed in last meeting, we said that here is also mentioned purpose such as inference or training, something like that. Not necessary to be mentioned in the spec.
Right?
So let's just focus on the general agreement. What could be captured in the spec finally? Hammond, I don't think that they should be sensitive to this one. Please take it easy. Take it easy.
But if it's justified, can someone justify how set A configuration would be needed for inference? I think it's common understanding that it's not needed
yes,
for
common
inference,
understanding,
right?
but it does not mean we have to capture something here right now.
So I have just one quick suggestion. Can we add for inference and then in the notes say that for inference is not going to be included?
Do you think that the inference is the only case we need to preclude from this agreement?
From set A, yes.
Then for set B?
For set B, it's okay because it's applicable
so let's not different. Let's make it a bit general right now. Feifei?
I would suggest to reuse the wording for UE-sided model agreed in last minute. First of all, it can be a conclusion to say for network-sided model for BM case 1 and BM case 2, comma, and then for configuration of set A and for configuration of set B, take current CSI framework as a starting point. That's all.
Which issue you try to address?
It's just we will start from the existing framework. That's it, and then all the detail will be for the study.
So what's the point?
Anything
wrong with
just remove this resource. You just say for the configuration of set A and for the configuration of set B. That's the original wording.
That is just remove this one, right?
Yeah, that could be also work. That could also work.
Then come back to NEC's proposal.
Maybe for configuration of set A, that's it. For configuration of set A. Yeah. Trying to align the wording with previous agreement. Yes, and then maybe no need to note, because its conclusion doesn't mean we will have spec impact in the end. But whether we will have spec impact in the end will depend on the follow-up detailed discussion. No. It's a conclusion means they may have, may not.
接我，用我。
Honestly, we are not fine with removing resources because, like, yeah, I kind of understand the intention to be get agreed, but I think having resources which is configured by CSI framework is actually a most important progress that I see in this proposal. So for us, we prefer to keep the resources for offset A beams and set B beams in this proposal.
Jeffrey.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think technically we agree with Hamid's comment that set A configuration is not always necessary. And Fifi just mentioned that everything is configured if needed, right? So can we put if needed under bracket after set A? That means for network
set that support.
Sorry?
Set support. As long as one cases, as long as there is one case.
Yeah, but the current wording implies that set A is always configured.
I understand. I also I have no strong, but I don't like such kind of discussion.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
It is just a waste of time. Everybody understand it. Let's take some.
This is Lenovo. We just want to clarify here the CSI framework, including the CSI resource setting for the resource configuration and the CSI report setting for the CSI report configuration. So
that is why we call it framework.
Yeah,
of course, included both.
But we think at least for the resource configuration, CSI report, CSI resource setting does not need to enhance.
That is why we said that is as a starting point.
That's fine.
David?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. With this, generally we are fine with this proposal, but we think it should be agreement instead of conclusion because currently we don't know whether we will have spec impact or not.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
I'm wondering why the note of purpose is not specified around. I think that is also the key of this conclusion. That is, I think the intention or the background is the same as for the inference agreement. Yeah. Thanks.
Please.
Yeah, I think we can simplify the conclusion. It's the conclusion will not be captured in ran1 specification. That's fine. Because we don't have to do anything here. It's a conclusion. This will not be captured in ran1 specification. So there are misunderstanding. If I may explain. So there is CSI reporting configuration that already legacy having. We can configure channel measurement resources. That's the resource set. The UE doesn't know whether it's a set A or set B. The UE does measure the resource set and report. So basically, we can already use legacy to measure single resource set and report the measurements. If company is having a case that set B is one resource set and set A is another resource set, two different CSI reporting can do the two different CSI report measurements and report. So set B and set A can be also measured with the existing mechanism and report. Only the reporting content should be discussed in ran1 to our understanding. Configuration of set A, set B, it's transparent to the UE. So what we have in the conclusion, it's like we can configure already with the CSI framework set A or set B. That's somewhat, if someone says it's not possible, I would like to hear why it's not possible. If there is a different proposal to extend, maybe that should be separately discussed. That's not the starting point.
Yeah, I understand.
Yeah, I think this should be an agreement. This is not, I mean, conclusion basically means we have concluded, but we haven't concluded. This is a start point. If it's a start point, how can we say this is a conclusion? Basically, start point means we will further discuss whether there is a spec impact or not. They should be the further the baseline or the way or direction we should choose for our future work. If so, this should be an agreement instead of a conclusion. No, that's something the group won't agree.
Okay, let's say just to give some guidance on how to proceed following up work, right? Please, Keith, wait, let's, if it is agreement, sorry, what?
Yeah, I think this starting point creating the confusion, it seems. What we need to kind of say here is existing CSI framework can be used to configure set A. Existing CSI framework can be used to configure set B beams. That's the conclusion. If that is no, if that is not supported by legacy, don't debate on any other thing. Please explain why it is not possible.
Some details to be decided, in fact, but case, let's take it as agreement. That is, let's continue other discussion. You know, how to capture in a spec depends on future CAR, right? You don't need to worry about too much at it. Yeah, you can disagree on that part. So for each part, let's have it to help. I know that's kind of there is no one disagree with you. Everyone think that yeah, it is can be supported by existing CSI framework. I think that that is why we have such kind of proposal. No, please, just what is our agreement? We think that we could take as agreement as to guide us following work. Please, I will not collect any comments for each session. Just what is on the screen without this FFS part, leave it outside. Leave it out. Just what is on the screen, this one. If you don't like it, let's move to another session. Please, local, I will not collect any comments. Not concluding agreement.
Yeah, I think the proposal is to extend the CSI reporting framework. So the proponents there are proponents who want to extend the CSI reporting framework. I think if the CSI reporting framework is not extended, the legacy framework can be reused to configure set A and set B. That is not an agreement. It's already supported in the spec. So I think agreement or conclusion here doesn't make any difference. So I am fine with not having this agreement because it's legacy, what you highlight in the first two bullets. only a proposal should be whether there is enhancement needed, what exactly the enhancement. Okay. Yeah, fine.
Are you joking? Are you kidding us? So, Yusuf, could you deal with it?
Yeah, I just have a question about the set B beams. I think at least we should configure a reference signal for set B. I know you need to measure set B, but for set A, it could be controversial. But I think for set B beams, we should change beams into reference signals. Right. Right, we can change beams into reference signals. We need some reference signal for measurement, at least for set B.
Check the previous conclusion, there's no bins. So we can just remove the bins. Just say configuration of set A and configuration of set B. That's it. That's the same as previous.
I think everybody understand what the set A means or what the set A B means, right? Yusuf, we should know. Yusuf?
Yeah, but I think, now it's very unclear. But for set B, I think reference signal should be clear, right? No one has concern about the reference signal for set B. But I think the controversial part is for set A. If we just say configuration for set A, configuration for set B, we just keep some door open and create some open issues later. But now I think at least we can have some progress to step further.
But
at
I
least
just
for
want
set B,
to,
we can
I
say this is
understand.
reference signal, right?
I just want to check. There is a different understanding about what a set A, what a set B is. Different understanding. If there is no ambiguity, you don't need to worry.
Yeah.
Yusuf.
But to me, I think for set B, there should be no different understanding. But for set A, there could be different understanding. For example, my understanding for convention of set A, it is something like a convention for being code book. But for some other company, they may think the set A is like a reference signal. But now for set B, for network, okay. But for network side, why do we need to configure set A? Then they should be configured in different CSI report configuration, right? No, why do we? Okay. But maybe we should say that they should be configured in different CSI report configuration. Yeah. Otherwise, we can. Yeah, but this is very important. Otherwise, people will misunderstand this proposal like we configure all of them in one CSI report configuration.
No, that is why I check.
But I think we should make it clear. At least add the first study. Yeah, we can add this back. Yeah, but yeah. Yeah.
May I make a suggestion?
Which company?
Future Way.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
What is
think
it?
now
Suggesting
the
about what?
on the wording to easier to concern on say when set A is needed and when set B is needed, and also the current formation of this agreement is looks like by
Please,
default separate configuration.
That is have already been debated, if needed, if necessary, for example.
Yeah. So
we should not come back to this point. Please, let's focus on, could we resolve the issue about the set A and the set B definition? There is a different understanding about the set A and the set B. Just on, let's focus on what is on the screen. Agreeable? Which company? About which
Hello.
part?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It is MediaTek from, so I have comments on the note for BM case 1 and BM case 2. So for these two cases, the content that UE report is different, right? So if we don't specify in the spec the BM case 1 and case 2, how to define the corresponding UE reporting behavior? Yeah, I know, but I mean, basically this note says we don't specify BM case 1, case 2 in the spec. If we don't specify that, how do you define the corresponding different UE behavior, reporting behavior? I know it's the next step, but to have this next step, we need to have
Please
BM case 1
make
and
it
case 2.
clear. Just its term will not be specified.
I mean, the whole sentence will not be
Just
captured.
its term will not be specified.
You mean the whole sentence will?
Not I mean, that is the group means.
Okay.
Please, let's focus on the screen. How? Let's deal with it. Please, how? Do you have some critical comment?
Kind of agree with MediaTek. It's better to remove for BM case 1 and BM case 2 to be accurate, because these two cases may have different reporting or different configuration of IS resources. Because this
That's a different configuration, but it does not mean we need to define its term.
I mean, anyway, these two cases will be distinguished from.
Of course, I will leave it to your
aspects.
offline.
But it's better to remove it right now. Otherwise, I mean,
let's final check. Is it possible to remove this one? Any concern? Only concern on removing this one, raise your hand. Okay, let's keep it. Just this one. No comments. Which one? Which typo?
In the note, there's a purpose, but the purpose has already been deleted. So there's no need to mention purpose in the note. Such as about, we can remove that.
That is yes, just it. Let's move on. 3, 2, 1. Okay, thank you, Feifei. That is all that we can do for this agenda. Second one is Haywork. Haywork. Where is Haywork? LG, 接我。Let's see.
Sorry, Mr. Chairman. The TDAC number is 3481. I think you can go directly to section 6.1.
Go ahead.
During the offline discussion, we are discussing about the baseline assumptions for CSI prediction. So the outcome is the first one is the outcome of the offline agreement for the UE speed and observation and prediction window sizes. So I think it's kind of stable.
Any comments? I see low hands. 3, 2, 1.
Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you.
The next proposal is kind of similar the baseline assumption for CSI report. I think the other than yellow highlighted part, that part are stable, but the controversial part is whether we additionally consider the CSI report periodicity as 20 millisecond is as baseline or not.
Just remove a bracket. I know you. Let's remove a bracket. Take it. Are you fine? Please do it.
So thanks, Chair. So yeah, as an operator, we think very seriously considering the longer CSI periodicity should be considered in this evaluation. But yeah, we agree on current baseline is 5 milliseconds. So, but we should considering some future extension possibility. So as we agreed in previous agreement, we add prediction window post-REST 5 millisecond and 5 millisecond. That means we are considering multiple future CSI prediction in this evaluation. So aligned with that thought, we think that CSI RS periodicity also CSI report periodicity can be also include one single CSI report include multiple future CSI RS CSI report. So in that cases, we think that 20 millisecond CSI RS periodicity is needed for the another baseline. But we are okay with some 20 millisecond as a encouraging. So yeah, that is our current thought.
Xinguang.
Yeah, if the 20 millisecond is added, then we need to delete the second 20 millisecond because it's already encouraged others. Yeah, and my second comment is regarding the
Closer to your microphone.
Sorry. Oh, sorry. My second comment is regarding the main bullet. Maybe you can also delete for calibration purpose, which is the same as the previous agreement. We don't need to these three words here. Thank you.
SMCC.
Thank you, Chairman. I have a comment about the parameter combination. I think for RIS16 or RIS18 codebook, only one parameter combination index is needed. I think although the calibration purpose is already deleted, but I think this agreement is for calibrate or collect more results. So I think at least we should, we will have some two values. I suggest to have one as a baseline, like at least in previous MIMO EVM RIS16 parameter, we usually use index equal to 6.
Prepare for a single value.
Yeah, I understand.
Please.
Thank you for the comment. I think there is a compromise point from the other companies during the offline discussion because some companies wants to have 7, some companies wants to 6. So I think it's 6, whatever value is chosen by the companies, the evaluation result is not kind of have a big difference. So I think it's for this stage, I think it's keeping both options will be safer. Maybe maybe in the next meeting, we may have some kind of chance to handle to more further down select.
Okay, Yuhua, and let's
Okay,
see what
if we have enough results to achieve some observation, then we are okay. We just afraid if we under one certain simulation, there are limited results. But if a company have enough result, okay, for index 6 or index 5 to have a common observation, then we are okay.
So I have removed the bracket and removed the redundant part. That is just to focus what is on the screen. Is it acceptable? Seems so. Let's do it. Ready? Future way.
So 2 issues. First, I guess all these assumptions for evaluation purposes, right? So maybe we should, it's not for a specification. Maybe we should like clarify it in the main bullets. So for the AML-based CSI prediction evaluation purposes, then continue. And the last bullet, other assumption and codebook are not precluded. High resolution parameter combination, who has simulated it or who has suggested it? I'm just wondering, and why do we need it? Because they are equally applied for AIML and non-AIML based prediction. So I guess we can just completely remove the last bullet. Other assumptions on codebook are not precluded. That's I think is obvious. We don't need to give these examples that I don't see have any special value actually.
Okay, good point. I think that let's just confirm what we can confirm. Ask 2 additional information, leave to the companions.
To respond to Huawei's comment, actually, in this meeting, maybe Docomo provides some kind of evaluation based on the non-quantized version for CSI report. So I think it's that kind of situation we can just only focus on the prediction accuracy performance. So I just added it on this block for safety. So, but for everybody in the group are okay with delete these things. I'm okay with to that.
We don't.
Yes, thanks, Mr. Chairman. Just one clarifying question. For this CSI reporting periodicity, so I think for this particular CSI, right? So like we have a time gap between the reporting time and the effective time. So I think here it would be good to clarify when we talk about the periodicity. So that means we're talking about the timing from measurement time to effective time, right? So we no. Okay, so okay, yeah. Then what is the time gap between measurement and the reporting? Oh, and the effective time, yeah.
There is if you see the prediction window, so the last part will be that, right?
Yeah, so the predicting window can be defined by delta and D, right? So basically, and also the reporting timing. So my question is, what is reporting timing with respect to CSI reference resources and the D value? So like, so for the first one, I think it just predicting window just specify D, right?
Actually, so you're suggesting to narrow down some kind of D value or delta value for this one as well? Yes. So that if that is the intention, let me do in the tomorrow's offline session. Is it okay?
I see no hands. Okay, let's get it.
Thank you. Just I'm so sorry. Just for the sake of being coherent, the first agreements that we had, can we also add for evaluation purpose as well to avoid confusion? Yeah, sure, but like adding one and not adding the other one. Yeah, next proposal is regarding the channel estimation and modeling. That is coming from the previous meetings agreement. So regarding the error modeling, we have well-defined model in TL 36.897. So the intention is if this is considered by the companies, the kind of error modeling is a baseline. So the second bullet clearly says other modeling is not precluded, but if it is considered, the company should report how to model the kind of channel error modeling. That is the intention.
Is any controversial? I don't think that it will be a bigger controversial issue, right? Let's conclude it. Okay, it will be concluded, confirmed.
And next one is similar with this one for phase discontinuity. Regarding this one, we also have same kind of EVM discussed in the NI MIMO session. So the intention of this conclusion is just reuse this random phase error modeling. Yeah, that's it.
CTD 了，消灭。
Thank you, Chairman. Time window is not clear for me. The window include the observation window and the prediction window. So the time window, I mean, is changing the measure. Observation or the measurement window is clear.
I think this is separate from the observation window or the prediction window. This is just how you change the phase. It's just a time window you change the phase. It's
Thanks, Chairman. I have a concern on the 20 millisecond window as baseline because this phase discontinuity is because of uplink downlink switching. So I guess it will be hard for within.
Speak louder.
I guess it will be hard if for within a 20 millisecond there will be no uplink downlink switching. So I guess this window baseline is too long. So perhaps we can just remove the window size as a baseline. We can let company to report what is the baseline, what is the window size assumption.
So we can revise as a T window as a maybe a scale bracket, or this one works as FFS on a T window, or just make a note to companies to report that T window and 5 max if other values are considered.
Just remove this one.
Report T window by companies. They're more helpful.
Is it? Haywork? 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 Is it a proposal from you? You remove this one and here add this one.
So actually, this T window value is based on the release 17 agreement in MIMO. So it's I think it's irrelevant. I think we should follow what has been agreed and discussed in MIMO session. That would be a good idea, because if companies have different T window, I think then calibration will be even more difficult, and it's not going to help us. If a couple of companies simulate the phase continuity, this effect, and with different time window, again, deriving some conclusion from them would be more difficult. And this T window is something that has been agreed before. So I think it's better to be there.
Yeah, I think it should be fine to use these 20 milliseconds as the main use case of this prediction and the feedback by UE is FDD. So for FDD, it should be no issue to maintain this as 20 milliseconds. And this is kind of like a requirement in ran4 and proposed by Qualcomm, if I remember correctly.
Could we just we would just say that is the common assumption for all companies for calibration. If companies think that 20 milliseconds does not work, please do it and report it. Chen Xi.
We still have concern for the 20 milliseconds as baseline.
It does not preclude your assumption.
No,
you can
no,
use
I
a new
mean,
value.
But this is saying 20 milliseconds as a baseline. I guess that needs more.
If you think that it does not work, you could
people,
use a new
of
value.
course, people can simulate other values, but which one to take as a baseline, that needs further discussion. Or otherwise, we can leave for company to report.
Please speak loud. Don't say.
So my point is that this decision of making 20 milliseconds as a baseline is premature. So of course, company can try other values, but which one?
Which value? For example, leave it as black.
Or maybe, I don't know, this depends on your uplink, downlink switching time. So you can, for instance, between every CSR sample, maybe you will have an uplink, downlink switching, then
Do you
there
think
will
that
be a
it
random
is easy
phase.
to have a common understanding? Consensus are periodicity? If it is not, let's take it as a baseline. If you think that it does not work, you can choose your preferred value. Sorry? Baseline just for calibration. Just for calibration, right? I think that kind of only one company said that it is not applicable.
No, I can't live with this as a baseline.
Of course, you cannot live with it.
So what is the minimum CSR's periodicity? 5. Okay, then 5.
Right.
Actually, I cannot understand what is the purpose of the last sentence, because we said it's
I cannot hear you. If you want to comment, please speak loud.
It's a uniform distribution between -5 max to 5 max, and then we said companies should report how to model it. So we actually describe what is the model. We don't need, actually, we already
Why
specified
you
what is the
volume
model.
weaker and weaker? Please speak louder. I cannot hear.
I said we actually describe if model, it should be uniform distribution between this and that is a 5 max. And then we said companies to report how to model. So we already described how to model. And then we are asking. Then what is the purpose of the first one?
Okay, for each one.
Mr. Chairman, can we just make the second bullet as the under the main bullet, similar to the previous conclusion? Thank you.
Do we need this one? I just don't. It is what I added. It is needed or not? Okay, let's.
Mr. Tim, do I have time?
Yes, you have still
we
10
can
minutes.
we can discuss this one because due to the lack of the time, I cannot make any conclusion on these issues. So we can discuss it online. So based on the offline with other companies, the first bullet is added when the complexity result is reported, especially for the benchmark 2. Other details should be reported by company. For example, frequency of filter updates and size of filter, because from the evaluation assessment from the companies for this meeting, the total complexity is varying according to these two factors. So for the fair comparison in the end, so I think it should be stated by the companies what's the assumption of their benchmark 2. That's the intention of the first bullet. And the second bullet is to have more to find more shining point of the AI/ML-based CSI prediction. So companies are encouraged to study on the complexity reduction. So I just put company are encouraged to, I know you don't like the companies are encouraged to, but some companies want to soften the wording to study, because that means every other companies need to study up on this one.
If they don't like it, don't need to provide it.
Sorry about it.
So, Monia?
The complexity reduction study, I think the encourage is only compromise for us. But if you go this direction, then we don't want to have this, because we don't want to mandate to study complexity reduction for AI/ML. That's not even part of the work item scope. So yeah, I mean, just the study, your study part, we evaluate the complexity, right, of the CSI prediction. That doesn't mean we need to study the complexity reduction scheme. So I don't think it's part of the work item description. But encourage is okay. I mean, if some company want to bring it, then we don't want to block it, but we don't want to ask all the company to do it. But that doesn't change anything, you know. I mean, that's is already part of
to study the correct
complexity. We already agreed to study complexity, so this doesn't add any value for this split. Increase is okay.
Future way. Future way.
Yes, I actually agree with the previous comment. We don't need it. And regarding the complexity, we have multiple agreements, including in the last meeting, that our companies are encouraged to provide the complexity in regards of number of flops. So this doesn't add any value. It just mandates something that's not actually part of the seat. So like, I don't think we need this agreement.
Yeah.
The whole thing, I mean, the whole, even the first bullet, because we have
even first bullet, report the complexity, of course. Wait.
But we have such an agreement in the last meeting. It's just repetition of what we had. So, well, in the previous meeting, I think we had the companies are encouraged to report the complexity in terms of number of flops. I think that would be enough, because this is the complexity is not part of the seed mandate. So that should be okay. I mean, mandating companies to do something that's not part of a seed wouldn't be. Chairman,
Which agreement?
yeah. Go up, please. Go up. Yeah, middle one. Yeah.
This one. Which one, right? To report the complexity. Then everything is done for this agenda. Jingya, comment?
But Mr. Chairman.
Jingya.
Yeah, I think it will be good to keep the second bullet that was just removed and change or add this encourage back to the bullet. I think that was mainly the concern from bullet, right? And the reason is that in our study, we find out that it is possible to further reduce the complexity of the AI model and where still achieve a good balance or trade-off between performance and complexity. Since in the WEED, we are required to study the performance gain with the associated complexity, I think it is important to study this aspect. So if encourage can make it more acceptable for the companies, then we would like to keep the second bullet.
I know, but I think that it depends on how to report the complexity. You can report the solution with higher complexity and directly report some solution with lower complexity. You can directly report such kind. Does not mean that is one is reduction, complexity reduction, one is just a report initial complexity, right?
Yeah, exactly. So I think in the end, it would be good to see the performance gain versus complexity.
Yes,
so
just the report complexity. Yeah, not necessarily that is reduced complexity or it is initial complexity.
Then we can remove the agreement.
Yeah, remove all. Then you are happy.
But I want to encourage companies to please report what's the assumption on the benchmark too, because
yes,
up to this meeting, I read every TDAX evaluation assumptions, but some of companies just report their assumption, just the value of the flop, but so without any assumptions on their the scheme, so I cannot categorize or something like summarize the results without that. Please make your assumptions clearly in your TDAC contribution.
Yeah, I think it's okay not to discuss this one, but one thing I think we should discuss for complexity report is how we calculate these flops. I mean, whether it's the number of flops during a certain time, or the number of flops for just one prediction, just for one inference. I mean, this could be different for, especially for non-AI based solution, because non-AI based solution we need to persistently update the filter parameter. So it would be good to agree that and more fair to agree that this number of flops is calculated during a certain time.
Okay. We cannot pursue more for this agenda. Please, Jinyang, we will not comment anything. Let's move to the positioning part. Okay.
Section 9.2, please. Yes. So yeah. So this is some of the discussion points from this morning's offline session, and also we discussed kind of stood outside of the room. Actually, is it okay if we start with the conclusion? Because the conclusion would affect some of the data generation discussion.
Okay, the definition about the TRP is clear or not?
Oh, yeah, actually, Chairman, I was asking if we can start with the conclusion that I had at the top of the section. No. There's a conclusion you did not copy over.
Yes. For this one.
No, there's another. There's a conclusion.
This one.
In 9.2 of the, the red one, the red one. Yes. Yeah, it's kind of new, so I put in red. This conclusion actually it's an issue that popped up while I was discussing with Dick outside the room after the offline session. But I hope that this is a common standing among delegates. So the conclusion says that it's out of ran1 scope to decide whether and how synthetic data and related entities are used in AML-based positioning. In ran1 discussion, data refers to physical data and not synthetic data. So when we say measurement data or label data, it's something that we actually would measure based on, PRS or SRS, or if it's a label, it's actual UE location. It's not some kind of synthetic or digital twin or some such tools that people may use in training their model. Obviously, digital twin can be used for perform model training, and such proposals have been raised in study. So that is acknowledged, but in training data collection and model monitoring, model inference, all of the discussion that currently ran1 is discussing, the data does not include synthetic data. So that's the intention of the conclusion, so that in future discussion we don't have to debate whether synthetic data is supported or not in the signaling procedure or any entity discussion or any say data collection content discussion, any of such discussion. So we just have this sort of umbrella conclusion to say that everything is physical, no synthetic data.
Okay, any doubt on its conclusion? Any doubt? Could we get it concluded? It seems quite straightforward, right? No? Lenovo?
Thanks, Yufei. I just had a question, like, do we have a definition on synthetic data?
A bit louder, please.
Do we have a definition on synthetic data? That's my one doubt in this conclusion.
If you want to have clarification, we can after synthetic data we put e.g. digital twin, because that was the example raised by Nokia. e.g. digital twin, so data from digital twin. Yeah. Bracket e.g. digital twin.
A resolution, I guess. Yes, I agree with the synthetic data is something that is not defined. Maybe it will generate other questions, but we can use another rewarding non-physical data, could be non-physical data or any data different than physical data.
Could we say that that's even that is
Yeah,
not
that could be an IE or it could replace. I don't know if it solved the question. Is it okay?
Lenovo, could we just say that, for example, that is not a direct physical aid? For example, measured, just this one.
Yeah, it clarifies a bit, but I guess, but yeah, we can see what other companies say. Yeah.
Jiehong.
Yeah, thanks, Chairman. Yeah, I'm actually confusing because the decide whether to synthetic data is used in the AML-based positioning. So it is out of scope in ran1 perspective. So why we add the second sentence? Because the synthetic data is whether to use is not for our selection because it's out of ran1 scope. So why we add the ran1 discussion, the data refers to only for the physical data only. Yeah, it would be synthetic data also possible to, depending on the other side of the decision.
I think it's just
May I clarify?
emphasize it, just some kind of emphasize to say that what the ran1 is assumed.
Yeah, I
Please,
can.
not necessary. Please, in the digital.
Thank you. We have many questions about this synthetic data, but I don't understand how this conclusion can help with other proposals because this discussion started with 4.1-2.1, which was about data collection, and supposedly this is a continuation of that proposal. But I just don't see how this conclusion can help with that proposal. I think we should go back to that proposal, try to refine words. I think discussion was about whether PRU or non-PRU can provide training data or not. So we should go back to that discussion. This has nothing to do with that proposal, and we don't want to spend time discussing this conclusion. Thank you.
Yeah, I'd like to explain why this suggests to be dealt with first. It's actually have a direct consequence to the PRU discussion and the measurement data from UE discussion, because this question was raised since that Nokia was suggesting that add LMF as the entity to generate measurement data for UE, and why? Because LMF may contain a digital twin and generate synthetic data, and such synthetic data is sent from LMF to UE to help with training the model for case 1. So that's why this conclusion is suggested so that we don't have to consider LMF as an entity to generate measurement data for UE in case 1. And also, for all other cases, we don't have to think somebody is going to have some kind of synthetic data, for example, from a digital twin, and that can be used to provide measurement data or label data.
Yes, yes, Yufei is right. That was the intention, and that was that we are trying to be constructive. That's why that we agree in this conclusion, just not to mention that it's out of the ran1 scope. In some way, we will avoid this discussion on the next proposal. So that, yeah, that's our intention, nothing else.
Yes, thanks. I have the same feeling with the previous InterDigital's comments. We can discuss the agreement first, and maybe we can add in a note saying it's out of ran1 scope to decide whether or blah 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 blah. So, yeah. I think
I think that since we have already spent some time on it, please, if there is nothing wrong, let's conclude it.
Yes, this conclusion is generally fine for us, but
yes, if it is fine, let's do it. Let's talk about okay, leave it aside and discuss another first, and then come back again. Not to do that. Comment.
Thank you for the discussion. I now understand we're trying to eliminate the LMF as a possible data generator. First sentence, fine, that clears it. But the second sentence, I don't see, if it's out of our scope, then I don't think we need the second sentence at all. We're just saying it's out of our scope, and that's it. We don't need the second sentence at all, at least when.
Yeah, we agree to delete the last sentence. if some companies have some concern, maybe we can move on. Okay, thank you. Second sentence, sorry. In
Yes,
round
that-
one,
in my understanding, in fact, that it definitely improves some more clarity. For example, here, some guys ask a question about what is synthetic data, that is not direct pheric data. Here, at least add some clarification, said that the data refers to pheric data, but it means measurement data, label data.
Yeah,
It
that's
is
why
things,
I'm I comment on that.
Yes, then here, since we add such kind of, then other guys may ask another question: what is direct pheric data? So for this part, I still don't think that they do any harm to it. It does no harm, right? Does no harm. It is just emphasize something. It is a fact. It is just a fact.
But maybe it can preclude to other working groups to discuss on synthetic data with the last.
That is just a
sentence.
ran1 assumption. Okay, could we can?
I don't know. Some companies are proposing to delete the last sentence. That's why that we agreed on this. I don't know.
I just think that it is not bad.
Yeah, fine to delete, but
Fine to delete, yes.
yeah, fine to delete. Yeah. Delete. But yeah, data is data itself, and the characteristic of the data is whether synthetic or physical data, depending on it, which is out of random scope. So yeah, data is data itself, and this conclusion is enough.
Sorry? What's your last comment?
Yeah. The characteristic of the data is out of random scope. So data is data itself. No need to refer to physical data, synthetic data, something like that. If that's my understanding.
I'd like, sorry, I'd like to just I'll just comment made me wonder if remove the last sentence actually means that the data can be synthetic or physical. Because we start to say data, a lot of places measurement data. So we should clarify whenever we say measurement data, it's only referred to physical. It does not refer to
I
synthetic.
ask again, anything wrong with this statement? Anything wrong with this statement? If nothing wrong, keep it.
Nothing wrong, yeah.
Okay. Now everything is done.
So, right, my understanding from this discussion is that this conclusion is essentially a second order conclusion based on the fact that we're trying to prevent the LMF from generating synthetic data. That's my understanding, correct? Yes, so it's out of run. So can we just say unrelated entities in brackets, for example, LMF? So at least when you're explaining this to people that are not in this room, you can actually see that and understand that, okay, this is exactly why we're trying to have this. So we in unrelated entities in brackets, for example, LMF. So that basically, because that's essentially what we're trying to do. This is.
Other is other. Other is other. Okay, listen. Come here. Other is other. Okay, it's concluded.
Yeah. Yeah. Actually, Chairman. Yeah. Then the next two is about the measurement of TRP and UE. Maybe we can treat them together. The first one is TRP is for uplink measurement, and the second one is on the UE side. So otherwise they are very similar. Yeah, just to show that the red text is the editing based on the feedback I received from delegates.
Dick?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I was discussing with my colleagues from round 3
they suggested not to use TRP. Maybe it's not up to ran1 to decide it. Maybe we can use the generic term, NG run, new generation run, because we have additional entities in the NG run, like G0B, for example, or NG G0B. So for ran1, the best wording should be NG dash run, as it was used in the definition of these cases. Yes. No, NG run.
NG
run, yes. Dash run, yes.
Yes, for the second proposal, maybe we think case 2A and case 2B should be included.
This one, just focus on this one.
So currently, no comment for this one.
That is a new phase which company? NEC.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. This is Zhao Bang from EC. So we have a comment for clarification. So look at the proposal, we have measurement and its related data. And in the end, we clarify that measurement is used to determine mode input. So my question is, how about the related data? Is it also used to determine mode input or may have other intention? Yeah, thank you.
Which data? You mean related?
Yeah, the intention is to say that, so the measurement part is for sure going to go to be used to determine model input. The related data may or may not. For example, timestamp is not going to be part of the data to use to determine model input. But we have sort of in discussion in study end phase, we discussed that there will be something like quality and timestamp. So we have further proposals address those aspects, but we only know for sure measurement will be used to determine model input. So this is just to differentiate that we're talking about model input part. We're not talking about model output. We have other proposals related to model output. So this is just the emphasis is on where the data is.
Thanks, Chair. As just Yufei mentioned, that the related data may include time step and also some quality information. So can we add extra after the time step? Because we may have more information, not limited to the time step. And for the NG run, we prefer the previous one because in ran1 you already mentioned TRP instead of NG run node, right? Also the measurement is performed by TRP, right? So that's our intention for the two minor comments.
Please repeat your first comment about related data. You want to add what?
The first comment is after accelerate, after the time step, right? Because we may have other information.
That is the example. Please. Sostin.
Yes. Okay.
Sostin.
Fine.
One comment on how the measurement is used, for instance, by the LMF1-3A of the G0B. I think the thing we should have a similar logic as in the other topics, that the purpose is not specified how the measurements are used later. It could also be used for other purposes. So I suggest to add a note to this proposal. Note how the measurement and its related data is used is not specified. This is up to LMF implementation. It's not specified in the report. So I would like to add this note. Exactly. So we can have to be clear then to have a note saying that how the measurement and its related data is used is not going to be specified. This is just how to get it and where to get it. So I
Let's
would
focus
add this note.
Let's firstly focus on how to generate it.
Yeah,
Can
so
discuss how to use it.
exactly. I mean, this is similar like what we discussed earlier. Here, the G0B, for instance, to the LMF in case 3B will just report the measurement, and this is what we agree on. But then we should not specify the purpose how the LMF is using this measurement. So therefore, to make this clear, I would like to add this note.
You just hope to clarify how to use it is to be discussed further, right?
It's the same.
Do you think that we need to consider how to generate it first?
But here we say where the measurement is used to determine the model input. So this could be misleading, saying that this is used only to get the model input. But in fact, it's just a measurement that we generate, and it can be used in any way by the LMF, also in other ways. So therefore, I would like to add this.
If for a case, I will remove this one. Remove a sentence.
Can be is better, but it would be even better to spell it out. Or why do we need to say? What Mr. Chairman suggested to just remove this is also fine. If we just say training data, no.
Delete it.
If you like it, you can.
Let's delete it.
Just delete this is also fine. Delete this or having the note to saying that we don't specify the purpose. I think both is fine, but we leave it like this. We do not agree.
We can also change the measurement corresponds to model input. I think it needs to somehow emphasize that it's related to model and we're specifically talking about the model input side. Otherwise, there are all kinds of measurement reports, right? It would be unclear what exactly why we need to say something about measurement. It could be legacy measurement even, right? So now we have to clearly say this is for AML model input. We're discussing this part. It's just provided context.
I think that the intention of this concluding our agreement just to say we need to define a mechanism or procedure to generate such kind of data. How to use it, perhaps it will not be specified in the spec, right? Just as we discussed in other agenda. We will not mention about the purpose.
They used to say ran is the entity doing data collection for case 3A.
So just this version. Is ran any controversial? Erickson?
Thank you. We don't support changing TRP to ngRan. The entity, or the node that is receiving the SRS is the TRP, and that measurement will be forwarded further to the main GNOB, which will itself forward it via NRPPA to the LMF. But the signals that are going to be measured are the SRSs, and they are received by the TRP. So it should be TRP. Otherwise, ngRan is not correct. It shouldn't be entity. It should be TRP instead of ngRan.
So that entity of ngRan.
But in the positioning architecture, we have TRPs, UVs, and LMF. We don't have GNOD B, so it should be TRP.
We have also TP. Okay, but it's
Could we just make it clear that is the TRP, even it is not that what we used in ran1, but it is just use the term. What is defined in ran1, ran2 spec?
I think the point that people are concerned whether, how the ran2 spec this in case if you spec. So we can simply say TRP/GNOB. This is all ran2's job. They don't define how the signaling, whether it's per-TRP or per-TRP or something. We don't need to worry about it right now. We know that some entity cannot do the measurement, and slash.
Anything wrong with this one?
No, I think because some other company believe that when you talk about the NRPPA, it's actually per GNOB, not per TRP. Even the TRP is under a GNOB.
Yes.
So I think it's actually not a ran1 spec specify this one. So we
that is I just use the term we used in ran, regardless in ran1 or ran2. If ran2 have a clear definition about the TRP, let's use it.
Just I think remove for measurement wise, the measurement could be done TRP level, also could be done at GNOB level, and the reporting could be done at per GNOB level. But right now we are not we are mixing things together. People are thinking that this means actually the signaling will be on the GNOB or on the TRP level.
Yes,
Is it a common understanding could be generated by G lot B?
I know, but
how to define the G lot B means here, if it is.
I mean, I understand that I think actually it doesn't matter because ran1 doesn't say anything about this TRP or GNOB. They only make assumptions. Okay, for this one, we'll assume there's an entity either TLP or GNOB gonna do the thing. Then ran2 gonna specify if we later decide data collection gonna do some procedure. So there's no ran1 spec impact in terms of whether it's actually accurately TRP or accurately GNOB.
So then why we need this proposal? I think that it is this proposal just take it as condition for following discussion, right? Take it as a condition for following discussion, right?
I
Since
think
it will not be captured in ran1 spec, right?
I think no, I think this has ramification. It's not correct to say this agreement entirely has no ramification to the ran1 spec. It's I think Huamin's comment is that saying TRP or GNOB is the same kind of from ran1 or like ran1, ran2. You know, people understand what it refers to.
So then why we cannot use this one?
Yeah, in my view, this is fine. Yeah.
As long as it is, if it is, ran1 has already defined something like that, then let's use it.
I think we are doing something strange here. So why do we worry about generated entity? Training data generation. What ran1 need to maybe give, what is the data content, and which entity is reporting the content. So the reporting content, I think even the training data generation part should be removed in the agreement. Because at least from ran1 specification perspective, we don't see any impact. But now we are making an agreement for other working groups and saying there is a training data generation. So I think what we need to agree for case 3A and 3B, these are the measurement and related data, and they are reported from either TRP/GNetB. That's it. What's the purpose? Training data or any other purpose? We don't have to discuss here now.
But the intention is to discuss training data generation. The intention of the agreement is to discuss that, or the proposal. How to signal is up to ran2, I agree with you. So we don't have to say signal details. Signal details is up to ran2, and we don't mention signal details. So we'll only say this, the generation will happen at TRP. And then after that, it's up to ran2.
Mr. Chair, can I just a short question to Yufei? Yufei, this proposal is in your future leader summary. Is in the section where we are trying to list the entities involved in data collection. So let's focus only on the entities and nothing else. Maybe the rewarding could be for.
Is watching is better a lot.
Yes. Okay. Let me check.
Please keep quiet. Is it possible to go with this watching? Yeah.
So I have a question about the ran2 specification issue. A TRP, from my understanding, is a standard ran1 definition that we use for positioning, that we use for MIMO, and it's defined in ran1. So I don't see, when we say that it's defined in ran2 specs, it brings ambiguity because it sounds as if there's a definition in some ran2 spec for that specific TRP.
No,
so just saying EGTRP in brackets.
I think that we could take it as a conclusion or observation. That is just all us.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm fine with the observation, but that is defined in ran2 specifications. If we can remove that, because that would cause confusion, because we have ran2 TRP MIMO. We have, I guess, we're saying that. So there's no ran2 spec for MIMO that basically defines TRP. So it becomes difficult to say when we say TRP defining ran2 specs, it brings some
Who told
ambiguity.
me TRP is defined in ran2 spec? yesterday. I remember some guys told me.
It's ran2 or ran3?
But actually, why do we need to say where is the TRP defined? TRP has been used in TR, even the study item TR. The TRP is the training data generation entity already captured.
If you think that it is so clear, why it caused a lot of debate on this one?
Yeah, it is necessary because
That is still yesterday. Some guys said that it is nothing to be defined in ran1, right? Currently, of course, could mention TR, but right now that is a normative stage. We need to consider how to capture the TR, capture the TRP in ran1 spec. If it should not be captured in ran1 spec, some guys comment that it has already been defined in ran2 spec, right? If we still try to use TRP, we need such anyway some group to have a clear definition about this term.
Well, actually, the emphasis is on the entity. So it's just to say that we only need to consider TRP as the entity.
I know, but I just how to help everyone out.
Okay, if maybe we can have more discussion on how to align TRP versus NGRAN entity, and we can move on to the UE one then.
What we discussed it 30 minutes ago. Mr. Chair, Yufei, why not to consider new NG-RAN entity and we can include another sentence. It's up to other working groups to down select between TRP, between G0B or other entities. Because that's the case. We are not the experts to decide it.
But the TRP has been used by ran1.
I agree, but not only.
So
That's why
I don't see why we have to say, no, we don't understand what's a TRP. We know what is a TRP, and TRP receives the
But
SRS.
first,
that's
we should. Currently, it is normative stage. If you think that we can use it, let's have a clear definition about what is TRP to be used for positioning. If you think that we can reuse the term defined in ran2, it is also one way, right? Just the companies have different understanding what the TRP is, especially from the specification point of view, ran1 specification. So for institute, what is on the screen? I know perhaps it is not perfect, but it is helpful. If you don't think that it is helpful, let's remove it. If you don't like it, raise your hand. If you don't like it, raise your hand.
I mean, the wording right now, you're saying NGRAN entity and
problem,
UEG.
no problem. If you don't like it, okay, I will leave it. Please, if you think that it is helpful for you, for all the following discussion, I will leave it to you. If you think that it is really help something, let's keep it. Please, not try. Is it possible to get what I have removed grade? Just what is one? Is it possible? Okay. No, I remove it. No problem. I think for this one. Without this one.
This is the updates were similar to the TRP one.
This one? Just what is on the screen.
Yeah.
Agreeable or not?
Make a comment for this one. I think the case 2A and the case 2B should be included.
We could go with a separate proposal if it is straightforward. First of all, this one. Dick?
Yes, this we can conclude as a conclusion because we are not fully sure how these training data parts are getting captured in ran1 spec.
Concluded?
Why is it conclusion?
Can I?
We have also subsequent discussion about exactly what the measurement data is and what's related data is.
Can I
Conclusion
clarify?
means no more
So
discussion.
the training data collection, it's up to ran2. They are working on it on a framework. And what ran1 has a scope is to discuss the content.
Yeah.
So when we say training data generation, what that exactly mean for ran1 spec? So
yeah.
if we don't have any clear idea for ran1 spec, what is that? We suggest go with a conclusion for now, just to facilitate next discussions.
It should be agreement because then we can say what is the UE would actually measure.
Basically, with the
We have
conclusion.
actually other proposal about the
With the
components.
conclusion, you can discuss because this conclusion says measurement and related data can be generated from PRUs and UEs. So if you need to discuss exact measurement content and related data, this allows it.
But why it cannot be an agreement?
Because we are not sure how to capture this in the spec, and ran2 is also parallelly working on a framework for training data collection.
My it is if we go with agreement, it is said it can be, right? Are you right? So case we not necessarily to couple this agreement to respect change together.
Yeah. So my suggestion is we work further details based on this conclusion.
Yeah.
That's the.
I think it could be agreement.
But the agreement people will ask to capture in the spec. When we capture
Of course, the measurement.
So in which specs
are generated by the
so training data generation, the overall framework discussion happening in ran2 in parallel for UE-sided cases.
So please,
they're studying
for the case one, the measurement.
This is UE-sided model.
Yeah, UE-sided model, ready measurement, right? That is based on the UE measurement, right? Of course, it can be generated by UE.
Correct. But my question is that this is about training data generation. Overall, the bullet is about training. If it is for data collection, in a generic sense, it's fine for now as agreement. But this is talking about training data generation. There, ran2 having a bullet with a kind of a study, UE-sided data collection. They are studying it in this work item.
I want to comment to the Nokia's comments, please. For our ran1 job, as you said, the data collection, the procedure might be ran2's job, but data generation, how to measurement for example, PRS or how to transmit SRS is our ran1's job. In our ran1 specification 214, only 2 sections related to positioning is PRS reception and SRS transmission for positioning. So this part, we were doing things step by step. This is our entity who will generate this data. By generating data from ran1 perspective, we were talking about measurement. So this PRU or non-PRUE will be in our ran1 spec. How to do the measurements and that thing. Of course, how to do that, we will continue discussing. But this should be agreement.
No. Can I reply? Yeah, I think in ran1, as you said, we have PRS transmissions and the UE measures. You have the measurements and UE, for example, now UE collect the data. If you have new measurements, that's ran1. If you have new PRS configurations or transmission, that ran1. But this is not talking about anything related to that. This is just for next discussions. This is for next discussions that if you have a measurement enhancement or let's say measurement new quantity or measurement, let's say PRS transmission enhancement, then you can use this conclusion to discuss those specific enhancements for now to our reading.
But doesn't prevent that we having this agreement saying that we were based on PRU or non-PRU UEs to generate data. That's also facilitate further discussion. I'm not sure. I didn't get the point to making the conclusion.
Point is agreements goes to spec. People can come and say this should be captured in 38214. How to capture this one in 38214?
It will be because you will have a which entity were doing something.
This agreement is not clear enough to capture in the spec. So for now, we facilitate the next discussion, we conclude and then try to understand the details further.
In current ran1 spec, we have PRU, we have UE to do measurements. The same thing will happen for AI.
There is nothing called training in ran1 spec.
I mean, from our perspective,
Okay,
there
so
should be agreement also. I mean, we had this homework where we had to identify which entities.
No problem. Let's take it out as a working assumption. If you finally find something, no, I don't know, not necessary to spend the time debate on this one. Let's really we find something to be captured. Let's do it. Otherwise, just take it out.
Yes, a small comment. The main concern, Nokia concern, is the wording. Maybe we can simplify the wording if it could be an agreement, because our intention is to list the entities only, not to using words like training data generation. Why not to say only?
Okay. Yeah, let's make it simple. Just take it as a working assumption for the time being. Okay. Working assumption, right? Okay, please take your lunch. Thank you very much. I think that it.
Really? We can say like TRP measured under 0B or something. TRP slash.
TRP slash 0B. Up to other what you do.
Let's say the agreement says training. What UE is doing, it says are incomplete. What is the UE is doing and training? Because then should the other behaviors defined. What is exactly training? In design,